And welcome everybody to Locked On iRacing. It is the solo edition. I am Peter Wilkinson, and I am here a little bit late in the week. Apologies, everyone. I will explain what's been going on to you just a moment, but we are here talking about week 6, I believe. Actually, I didn't even prepare anything for this, so I'm here talking about the previous week that's been going, that's gone about a week and about 4 or 5 days ago. Anyway, hang with me. I'll get there in a sec. I personally only did 2 races last week, and they're both in the supercar. I didn't get the production car one happening. It's been really busy on my end, so unfortunately, to get a few more races under my belt last week, I didn't get to. So we did it was Road America in the supercars last week, both vets and officials. And if you did the Road America version of the officials, unfortunately, Bruce McLeod, who set it up for Sunset. And Sunset was the time of the practice section. So by the time you actually finished, about halfway through qualifying, it was as if they turned the light switch off and it went to pitch black. So it became an issue if you had some front end damage and blew your lights out. But it was interesting. I just would have liked some street lights around Road America to make it so you could actually see a little bit better. But it was definitely an interesting way to race. So I only did that race and then the Road America version of Vets, which we'll get to in a moment. Hopefully you've seen the stream. You've seen me on Vets on their broadcast, and you know the result by now, but we'll go through that. And I've already gone through it a little bit actually a fair bit on the broadcast about the race, but we'll break it down for you just quickly. Other than that, I'll talk about I'm having a week off at the moment. So my daughter had her horse presentation last night through school, where she got awarded with some stuff, and all of them got awarded. They basically celebrate the year they've had, which is a fairly significant moment. So we go to that every year, and it just happens to be on a Thursday night, and went for about 3 hours, and I'm exhausted from it now, which doesn't help the whole fact that I'm exhausted overall at the moment. So that was a thing that did happen, and we had to skip V8 Vets this week coming. That I won't actually talk about next week. So that's the other thing. There will be no podcast next week. I'm going to have a full week off. Come back with some actual content to talk to you guys about. But race went to Mugello this week anyway in the supercars, which I don't own that track, and at the moment with my financial position and a few other things going on, I just decided to have a full week off, try and get some energy back, get some vitality back towards racing, I guess. That's not a word that probably fits right, but just feeling I needed a bit of a break and put a fair bit of effort in. Got what I'd been working towards, which was then now come back down to earth and sort of enjoy that moment and come back down to earth and start the process again. So haven't really done anything this week, just because actually I've got the wheel sitting here in my hand over here, so it's not even attached to the rig behind me at the moment. We had the joysticks hooked up. I was trying some other simulator stuff on the rig just to see how it would go. We got some Mech Warrior 5 that came out during the week, and I just wanted to give that a go. Unfortunately, Unreal 5 engine-based games do not work with joysticks at all very well. There's a lot of back-end stuff you've got to do, and I just couldn't get it to save properly. So it was good when it worked. However, it just wouldn't save it and would just randomly be missing every now and then when I went back in. So I've put off that. I'm probably going to try and do some other slim stuff before I get deep in it. But then again, I could just jump on and stream some races in a sec. Who knows? We'll see what happens after this. But that's what I've been doing. Just trying to get something else into my system while I have this little break, and then I'll be back stronger. If you want to hear more about why I'm having the break, I will be recording after this the next Nothing But Ramblings episode, which is my mental health podcast, which is basically a journal each week of where I'm at and just talking about how my brain's going, how it works, and what's causing a few of the things behind the scenes. And it's just a open and honest chat about mental health, especially in Aussie gamers and men's health, men in particular. So give that one a listen. It'll be I have no idea if it'll be a good episode or not, but the people who are listening to it are enjoying it. So yeah, we'll have a bit of a chat about something. I don't know what it'll be. I usually just start chatting and away we go. But check that out on why I'm needing a break at the moment. And yeah, that's about that. But we'll go back to Supercars this week. It's probably going to be a shorter episode because I want to do a wish list of what I expect to see in the season 1 update. But I've really got to nut down what that is at the moment. So we'll get on top of that later. I think we're just going to have a bit of a shorter episode. I do really want to talk about vets in particular. But we went into the Supercars at Road America, the official, After Dark edition, and we were under the impression, because we can't do maths and I wasn't really in the right headspace for it anyway, but we thought the server was going to come down 75% of the way through the race. So we weren't taking it all that seriously. We were just sort of having a bit of a muck around, and I didn't put in the best qualifying. There was 32 people registered, so it was a full session. I haven't got the stats up in front of me. We're just going to do this from memory. So I did start down towards the back of the field. I think I was car 20, 24, 25 or something. Might have been a bit higher, but it was definitely numbered down the field, and qualified about 20th. And we started a little bit concerned about losing those headlights, but and hadn't done a huge amount of Road America practice, to be honest. Done a little bit with Buzz the night before and during the day, so I was confident enough with the track, but not fast. And I figured, well, I didn't really care at that stage. Like I said, it's pitch black. We were just having a bit of a muck around, and we thought the server was going to go down. So we're in a battle. People were battling around and being silly, and then I wasn't quick down the straight. I had the vets set on, so people had faster cars down the straight and things like that. And I was sitting pretty comfortable, and then had a guy flashing me, which, look, during the day is fine. When there's lights on the road, that's fine. But when there's no lights on the road and it's at night, the flashing is actually extremely irritating, just because it just messes up and gives, like, it was starting to give me a headache, this guy flashing me from behind for no reason. We're on the same lap. And it wasn't even like he was on my rear. He was like 3 or 4 seconds back down the field, but that flashing was just doing something, and it was just really irritating me. So I ended up really pulling out of it and just letting this guy pass, because it was really just not. I didn't have the best headspace at the time, but it just wasn't doing me any good at all. I was getting frustrated and angry, and I figured, hey, this server's not going to matter anyway, so let's just let this person pass. They'll do something stupid, and that'll be the end of them anyway. So did that, and sort of just then lapped around in the dark by myself, watching cars go off every now and then, getting a few odd spots. Didn't really have too many issues myself. Got to doing little off tracks every now and then, and tapping a few cars early on in the battle. Got my X's up, but I didn't really care. It was like, oh, okay. And then we realised we got to 9 o'clock Queensland time, and the server hadn't gone down yet. And then we started actually doing the proper math, and we worked out it was actually 10 o'clock, so we were going to get the full server in. And I went long on fuel and all that kind of stuff, because I just wasn't thinking about it too much. But went and put the fuel in, come back out, realised the server's going to be live. So then I had to worry about my X's, because I was at about 10x at this stage. And I'm like, oh no, here we go. And started taking it a little bit more seriously, but something did happen, and I did stuff up at some stage. I went off on the final corner early on. That was the thing. Oh, and old mate, who was flashing me, that's right, I let him pass, but as I let him pass, he'd gone wide at the end of the first long straight. And I stayed on track. He's come back on, bit of net code, and me, like I said, not taking things seriously. So as he's come back on the track, not really wanting to let him on after everything that he'd just done, and clipped my rear and spun me around and kept on going. Lost 6-8 seconds there from that spin, and didn't really care at that stage. But then got to the end, and I'm like, oh, that could have been so much better. But came 18th or something silly like that. Walked out of it not caring. Was more about vets on Thursday. Felt comfortable in the car. Got my strategies down for fuel. Knew my numbers, all that kind of stuff, and was pretty happy with where I was at, and just wanted to do a little bit more practice the next day, and then Thursday, which I did. I got a few full tank runs. It did a full practice of the 250 Ks on Thursday. So ran long both times, went fuel to the end, practice as if I had to do the right amount of fuel. Got across the line with within a litre or two left, and really worked that out. So not only had a good strategy with numbers, so I knew I could adapt on the run, so I knew what I had to do, but I wasn't getting pit entry right at all. Not at all. It didn't feel quick, but I'd found some time after watching a few videos that the vets put out for practice, and felt like I'd always felt like I wasn't quite up to speed on this track on Road America, but felt like I was consistent enough to not be a problem. Like I was starting to get in that rhythm where I wasn't making mistakes. I'd got the X's down, which was a really good thing, and found a little bit of time, but it wasn't consistent enough. Like my optimal and my best time was still a good second apart. I just couldn't get full lap, 2-minute lap around Road America without making one mistake somewhere, so I couldn't get that optimal lap together. And then I think I'd nailed a few sections, and then basically my brain had forgotten how to do it. Like especially the kink over the back after the carousel, it felt good, and but I never felt like I was doing it right. And then right at the end, I felt like I was braking and then turning. But once I was braking as I was turning in to the kink, and made a lot of a big difference, and I could get through there probably 4 or 5 tenths quicker, which was really good. But anyway, we get to Thursday night practice, and once again, I still can't put a lap together as far as just one full lap without missing a beat. It was always, okay, I went a little bit wide at the carousel, there goes 6 tenths, or I went a bit wide at the kink. Canada corner, I went a bit deep, so we got a bit sideways coming out. Even the turn 5, turn 6 area, or that little section, or turn 1 was the annoying one. You get on a good run, and then turn 1 or the last turn, you lose it, and you got another two minutes before you can even start another lap. But once again, I was just doing full tank runs, so felt confident in the car, and I it's my nerves, or it's, I don't know what it is, but the car felt good the longer I went. So losing fuel, wearing the tyre down, the car was feeling better to me the more I drove it. So my times were slowly dropping, not seeing the drop off that I think a lot of other people were seeing, but felt pretty good. Like I said, fuel numbers were good. I felt like I could get to the end on the right amount of fuel that I'd done. There wasn't going to be a problem with anything like that, burning too much fuel or anything like that. So I was in a good spot. I'd actually probably started saving a bit of fuel, to be honest. I was at 5.1 at one stage in practice, and was doing 5s just before the race, but did quali, and nervous after the last couple of weeks of quali, put in a time, and like I said, I hadn't put a good lap in at all for a long time, just one solid lap, which put me like my optimal, not even my optimal, my best time I'd done in the car would have put me about 5th, 6th, which is like where I want to sit. As far as practice goes, but I was about 12th or 13th in practice, so I didn't show pace at all. So jumped in for quali, did one lap, and put myself about 8th, 9th, and I thought, oh yeah, that's pretty good. That's a good settler. Now let's go for it, and really pushed hard, and 5 or 6, by the end of that first straight, I was about 6 or 7 tenths up. And I'm like, well, and this is not on the previous lap. This is on my best ever lap. So the data I'm seeing in front of me in my Delta was based on I was 6/10 slower in my qualifying than my best ever time was a 2:07.8, I think it was. And my best was a 2:07.2 going into this. And I was a good 6 or 7 tenths up on that time. So I'm looking 2:06 mid, which was around where my optimal was. But I'd never been able to hit it. And then the lap goes on and I get around to the carousel, just for the carousel, and I'm still 5 or 6 tenths up here at this stage. We're on here. We can get front row of the grid or not far off it here. And from nowhere. Definitely wasn't expecting this going into tonight. And then iRacing or my PC has decided to glitch and went to basically froze. So we went around the carousel. I saw 3 frames through the whole carousel. So we're talking about 30 seconds. So a frame every 10 seconds. So 6 frames a minute going around the carousel, which you can't be fast. You just don't know where you are. And when it finally came good, I was off the track. And obviously, quali over. That's it. Can't do any better than that because it's already got a 1x and we've lost all our time. So, finished up, upset, but knowing I've got pace now, knowing I can really nail this. And that was the last little bit of confidence I think I needed. So, like I said, I felt like I could do multiple laps without making many mistakes or minor mistakes. I was catching the mistakes a lot better, and it had cost me 1 or 2 seconds rather than 10 seconds by going right off, spinning around and coming back on and that kind of stuff. So had good strategy, all that kind of stuff, and was still sitting 10th on the grid, I think it was. So felt like in a really good spot and just had to survive and get the good runs with the safety cars, and obviously don't make mistakes, which is a thing that's been a problem for the last couple of weeks. But we got into out of quali onto the grid, and nervous again because things could go okay, and I don't like that because there's something's going to go wrong very soon. So we sit on the grid, we launch, we get a good launch. Almost take out Pickering on turn 2 because I'm just going to sit behind Carl here. I'm happy to just sit behind Carl. I've got player 1 cars behind me. If I can stay behind him, we'll be right. And he's broken early for turn 2, which I'm 10 deep in a big field. It's going to happen. I should have paid more attention to that. And I was not ready for it though, and broke and nearly rear-end him. And then pulled to the side, the right-hand side, not to overtake, just to avoid hitting him and causing the big one. And one of the player 1 cars has gone to stuck the nose down the inside of me as I've pulled out, and I've almost cleared that car out as well. And somehow held the corner fine, didn't get the overtake because I wasn't going for it. I just wanted to stay behind Carl, and that's what I did. But the player 1 car behind sort of backed off a little bit. I balked his run, and we found a little spot, and then I was feeling okay. Got down to the end of that straight, turned left to go up the hill under the bridge is the turn left. It's my most hated corner on that track because you got to brake early, but then you got to carry momentum, and it's a blind apex, and you've really got to nail it because it gets the next turn as well. You can really make some time up if you're going through there fast. And coming up the hill, braking, and all of a sudden I see in between cars, there's a car facing the wrong way, and then Jim's finally got on it, spin ahead, and we slow right down, get through the crash unscathed. A few cars in front get tangled up or go off. I come out the other side, miss a couple of cars that are trying to come back on, and find myself in a 4th all of a sudden, and with a straight car, and a safety car is about to be called because someone has just asked for to be towed. So we get around to the final corner and they call the safety car, boards and flags. And at this stage, I don't know the rules properly, and I'm like, should I duck in and get some fuel? Do I not? No one else ahead of me is. Okay, so I want track position. I'm in 4th. I don't want to put fuel in to save time down the track and then get caught up in a mess further on down the field, and I'll get held up for time. I'm going to lose time by doing this. So let's make the call stay out. Everyone else is staying out. Track position's king right now. I'll draft with some people. We'll be right. We did. Lo and behold, if you pit on that first lap, it doesn't count as a compulsory. So I got lucky. Made the right call. Found that. Didn't find that out till the next night. So we'll get to that in the end. But we do safety car. I'm clutching as much as I can, trying to save fuel as much as I can to just save time in the pit stop when we get to the first one. And we restart. Don't get the best restart because Matty Monday goes real early as always. And actually, I must have been further back down, but than fourth. But he spun out and before the pit entrance, and unfortunately just went a bit wide and caught the dirt and went off and puts Russell back in front. Russell, who we're not supposed to have here because he's supposed to be still overseas, but anyway, he come back and jumped in the rig, much to our disgust. But anyway, and get the run. Happy to sit behind. We've got Ross Watson. I think Brad Hayes is in front of me, and Glenn Boyce. So I must have been sixth or something like that. And sitting behind them, we're going good. We do a couple laps, and then I see some smoke coming up at turn one. A couple laps later, some big smoke coming up at turn one, and from what I can work out, Brad has gone deep, taken Glenn off the road. Ross Watson's gone through, or he might have been ahead of these guys already, but Boise and Hayes have gone off. I've rolled through. I'm about a second and a half behind Watson, and Boise's just behind me because he's got back on track. It wasn't too bad a hit for him, but early on, this has put me in third. So we've got Russell, we've got Ross, we've got me, and that's it. So then Boise's behind, Boise's coming up behind me, and I'm on the back of Ross, and feeling pretty confident because we're a couple laps in, and I'm sitting in third. So as far as I know, no one went for the early stop, which I didn't know was illegal anyway. So we're in a pretty good position. So we're doing laps. I'm watching the Delta. Russell's slightly getting away. I get back on the back of Ross, but he's got the first half of the lap down pat better than me. I've got the second half, so I can't get him at turn one because I'm not quite. He's doing the last turn better than me. Can't get close enough at the end of the other corners, but I'm getting held up through the back section down to Canada Corner. Basically, I need to make the move at Canada Corner or somehow get that last turn right and dive at turn one. And this is what we're doing, lap after lap after lap. Theoretically, I should be just saving fuel at this side time and just doing a better pit stop and getting away. And I'm not. Because I see Boise coming down behind me, and I'm like, oh, if Boise gets behind me, I'm not going to do well. I'm going to make some mistakes, and he's going to get both of us, and it's going to be all for nothing. So I'm also watching Russell ahead, and Russell's getting slowly further ahead until he's about 5 or 6 seconds ahead, and that's where he sits steady. And I know from watching the broadcast a couple of weeks ago, his team's telling him, just sit at this pace, save your tyres. I'm like, I don't want him to have an easy run up front, save his tyres. I want this guy to burn his tyres so we can actually have a battle at the end. I want strategy to come into this, and I'm looking at Ross, and I can't quite get the job done at any point. I'm not really close enough to dive, and I don't want to kill us both. But in hindsight, since I found out that we've got onto that first back straight, or the first long straight, and he was changing his brake bias, and he's gone off to the left onto the dirt, which has slowed his momentum down just enough for me to get on the back end. And for the first time in a long time, I went, I'm going to make the dive here at the end of the turn, and I'm going to try and make this stick and make this pass work. And I did. He gives me half a mile, which is great. I probably overcorrect and take too narrow an exit, but we give ourselves probably a car and a half width between us, and he gives up and I go through, which is fine. And then sit there for the next couple of laps and build up a good second and a half lead, almost 2 seconds. Boyce is still behind, so I'm like, just keep him behind. I'm not catching Russell, but his pace is picking up, so I'm working hard, but I'm staying within 5 seconds to 6 seconds of him, and it's great. And then going into turn one, little tyre on the dirt in the braking area and lock it up big time. And this is where I'm seeing the whole race flash before my eyes. And but somehow gear change down, like lift, get back on the road, brake again, gear change down enough, get down to second instead of third, pulls the car up and stays on track. And I lose second and a half. So basically I go from almost a 2 second lead over Ross back to here he is in my rear vision mirror at the end of the straight. It's under a second again, and then belting away. And then people start pitting. And I'm like, okay, here we go. Russell goes in. I get the lead of the race from second, so all of a sudden I got a bonus point. Like, excellent, here we go. That's one tick off the box for the race. Let a lap. And I concentrate because then Ross goes in as well. Boyce has gone in, I think, a couple laps later. And I'm just out there on my own. It's 30 seconds back, basically, to the nearest car. And I run the tank dry because the car's feeling okay. And it's actually feeling like it's getting quicker the more we go. I'm getting more confident the more we go and not making a mistake. And then I duck into the pits finally at the end of the tank, about 17 laps in, 18 laps in. It was a long tank. And fill it up. Do 98 litres because I've saved 89 litres, I think it was actually. I'd aimed for 95, but I'd flicked it down to 92 because I thought I was saving fuel, and then I knocked off a couple more litres because of what I saved under the first safety car. And I went 89. Seems like a good spot. Let's go with that. Jump back out, and I'm like, oh, Russell's gone by. And this is when I see Sean Slater's gone by way ahead of Russell. I'm like, oh, Sean must have pitted early. That's interesting. He's way ahead. He's got fuel. He's got way more fuel to put in, but he's way ahead. Okay, that's interesting. Maybe I'm battling for third, not second, like I thought. But then Russell goes by. I come out, and I've got Ross and Boyce on my tail yet again, and away we go. Driving along and trying to stay ahead with cold tyres, which was the big one, and mentally dealing with that, doing a few laps, but I'm opening up because I've got fresh tyres now, way fresher, like 5 or 6 laps better tyres than they do, and build up a 2 second lap here at this stage, and I'm looking pretty good. Coming down that first back straight, the first straight anyway, and looking up at my fuel, trying to work out, I'm like, I was in the pit 5 seconds longer than those guys, and I come out just in front of them. So I must have picked up a fair bit of time. Like, I watched my delta every lap, and I was green on everyone bar Russell and Sean, and that was it. So I knew I was eating time out of them, but I did 5 seconds more fuel and still came out ahead, which was surprising to me. What was also surprising was I was 100 metres late on my braking marker for the end of the straight, and I'd done it a couple of times, not that deep, but this time, like I'd pulled it up just enough, gone a bit wide, lost half a second. But this time, way too deep. Locked it up, slid over the apex, and went off the track and lost about 6 seconds. I worked out, so I'd gained 2 and a bit seconds on Ross and Boyce, and then I was about 2-3 seconds behind them when I come back on the track. And well, there we go. I need a mistake to catch up to these guys, or a safety car, and then some good driving. But then I'd forgotten what I'd just worked out. What caused the accident was I was 5 seconds better off on fuel. So theoretically, I'm ahead of them still, because they've got to put 5 more seconds of fuel in at the next stop. But I'd forgotten that as quick as I found it out. I was trying to work out Russell. Definitely, we were about the same. I worked out, so that wasn't really a thing. Then just had to knuckle down at this stage. I'm like, well, I've lost the podium at this stage, so let's just knuckle down and hopefully put some pressure on and do some more laps. And then going along, they've pitted again, and I find myself back in the lead again. And at this stage, like I said, I'm just doing delta work, just making sure I'm quicker than everyone else on track at that time. And we get right down to about 5 to go, and the tyres, I feel like I've burnt them off just a little bit, and they're just becoming a bit slippery, especially in the rear. Like they're only about 80 or 75% on the rear, but it was just enough for it to lose traction coming out more than I was before. So that's when I had like 5-6 litres left. I could have done one more lap, but I thought I'd pull her in. But as I'm coming in, I'm sitting there going, Race Labs is telling me I need 30 litres. I'm working out in my head that I only need 21, 22 litres. Race Labs is jumping between 25 and 30, depending on how many laps. For some reason, it thinks where I am on the track, it doesn't take in that extra lap. And right into pit lane, I'm still trying to mathematically work out, no, there's 5 laps left I have to do. So that's, there's 4 laps left I've got to do. So that's 20 litres. No, sorry, 5 laps left I've got to do. That's 25 litres, but I've got 5 litres in the tank. So it's 20 litres I need to put in. Let's just put in 2 extra for safety's sake, which is 22 litres is of tyre change anyway. So let's do the minimum. That's 8 litres less than what Race Labs is telling me. And I'm like, this is doing my head in. I'm I can't stuff this up, because at this stage, I've done some really good laps and I had fresh rubber. So I thought I was in a good spot. I could chase these guys down and really, get this podium back that I'd lost by making that one silly mistake. And we see Sean go past. We see Russell go past, and I'm done, and I'm heading out. I'm not far behind Russell. I'm about 5-6 seconds back from Russell. Oh, no, it was about 10 seconds back on Russell, because we'd lost the time from the spin. We lost 6 seconds, and I was about 10 seconds behind. So I'm like, we're actually, we were right in this if we didn't make that one mistake. And then, or 2 mistakes really that I made with the locking up going into the first turn. It's my surprise. In hindsight, it wasn't a surprise, but in my surprise, I've come out almost identical to the first stop. I've come out in front of Russell and Glenn. And that's when I'm starting to get nervous. I've got 4 laps to go. I've got really fresh rubber, not much fuel in the tank. And I've got Russ and Glenn right behind me. And it's about 8 tenths, 9 tenths. But one mistake and I'm done. And then all of a sudden, a couple of laps, or it might have been the very next lap, they've got tangled up behind me and I've seen them go off. The next car back from them was about 18 seconds back. So all of a sudden I've got 9 seconds to Russell. I'm not going to get that down in 4 laps. Russell's got another 5 or 6, 7 seconds to Sean. So they're not really going to battle and bring themselves back to me or make a mistake. But I've got 18 seconds to the car behind me. So I'm sitting in 3rd. And by a long way. And things all sort of started to relax. I got really, settled into the thought that here we go. I've got a podium here, finally. Been talking about this for how many rounds now? And sort of relaxed. And then ego jumped in and I'm doing a lap. I always, like, the way I strategize, I've said it before, is cool. Let's get the lap led by going out for the longest. Have the least amount of fuel and the freshest rubber on the car at the end, so you can do one flyer and maybe get the fastest lap of the race for bonus point there. And I come out, I can see I don't have the delta in front of me on the race. I've got it to the side, so I see that it's green, and I see it's about 3 or 4 tenths up on my fastest lap, which I just done, which was a 2:07 flat, I believe it was. And the fastest lap was a 2:06.8. And I'm like, hold on, I'm 3 tenths up here, and I've just done a 2:07 flat. We've got 3 laps to go. Let's do this. Let's have a 4 laps to go. Let's do this. Let's have a crack. And I put in an absolute flying lap. Got her out of Canada corner. I can see Darren Vermey up ahead of me. I'm like, please pull over and let me pass. Please pull over. I'm the leader of the race at this stage. And I'm flying. I nailed Canada corner for the first time. Come flying out of it. And then that kink to the left just before the final corner. Take that full pelt as much as I can, just a little lift, especially with the rubber I've got on. And here he is almost on the apex as I'm coming up behind, and I either punt him or I just have to tap the brakes and narrow it and come down the inside of him as he goes a bit wide. Just narrow up that corner a little bit to make the pass. And that little dab of the brakes cost me, I think, I worked out 2 or 3 tenths. And come flying out, done the final corner. I'm still in green. I'm like, oh no, and it's the momentum isn't quite there, and I end up 2 tenths up instead of probably 5 tenths up at that stage. And I'm 1 tenth off the fastest lap of the race. I'm like, that's it, let's go. We can do this. I've still got fresh enough rubber. And stuff up turn 1, go a bit wide of the apex. Stuff up turn 2, go very wide of the apex into the point where the tyre dips off onto the grass, and I put the foot down and the car spins big time. But I lock her up, I break it in and stop it from going into the fence, straighten it up, roll back onto the road, and I'm still 18 seconds down the track from the car behind. I'm like, that's it. Head down, just get third. Don't worry about that bonus point. Just get third. That's what we're really here for. So drive slow. Don't do some very good laps the next couple of laps, and then we get to the white flag comes up and that pressure comes off again, and I start doing a flyer, and I'm behind, but I'm behind by a tenth, maybe 2, and I know I've got 3 tenths at the end that I'll get if I nail it, and I can still get this final lap, this fastest lap on the final lap, and we get around to Canada Corner, and I'm a tenth down, but if I nail this, we're going to get this. And I put the foot down just a fraction too early, and the tail comes flying out. And we start heading towards the wall again, and luckily pull it up, straighten it up, and then just cruise on home for a third. And then sort of, roll around, and not enough fuel left. We've only got 2 litres of fuel left, so I did nail it. And went to do burnouts just to celebrate the third, and Sean's in the spot that I was going to do it, and then I sort of run out of fuel. I'm like, oh, just breathe and take it in. Let the pressure come off pressure I'd put on myself. So that's all it was, and mentally just sort of let myself be exhausted with the pressure and the amount of weight that I'd put on myself for so long about this podium for vets. Let it all sink in that it happened. Take some time with chat to celebrate with them, and run out of fuel, and then let everyone chat. Had Maddie say congratulations over the comms, and I think John Van Raid said congratulations at that stage. So then thanked them over the comms when I finally brain could work out how to use voice comms again, because I was pressing the wrong button, and yeah, that was it. So we got a third, and sort of took the night to settle down, and then next day felt like that's knowing that I'm having this week off was like, well, I'm not going to get a chance to be on the broadcast for a while. So hit up John when I organised everything with my family, had cricket for my son that night, and went, John, I can be on. I might be late, but I can be on if you want. And he said, yep, cool. So me, Matty Monday, and Russell and John went and chatted about the race, which was really good fun. I haven't done like a broadcast style commentary for a very, very long time. I need to get back into that again. I need to take Sim Speed up the next time they have an offer, which I missed the last couple of times they've done that. But it was really good fun just chatting about the race again while watching it, knowing. I don't know if people enjoyed it or not, but it was good fun chatting, especially with those guys. That's when I realised that I'd actually got second, and Sean had been penalised for the rule of not pitting under first lap. The safety car comes out in the first lap, then compulsory doesn't count. And understanding that was a rule, and I almost fell into that trap as well. Feeling bad for Sean because he's had 2 dud decisions in a row, or dud things happen in a row, not decisions, but little mistakes or technical errors that have cost him 2 races in a row, and just feeling bad for him for that. But on the other side, I've actually now got a second, not a third. I have no idea. I haven't seen the results from last night, so I'm staying away from that at the moment. I'll try and watch the broadcast and catch up with that. See how everyone went at Magello, but it was good to finally get the podium in a league race. Like the last time I got a podium in a league race was a Skippy race about 4 years ago in Aussie car, and that was because I pitted early and half the field took each other out, and I was the last man standing, and got a third, which was a huge feeling. And then doing it again makes it all not worth it, but justified all the effort that I've put in over the last 3 months, I guess. But looking forward to Aragon coming up next week. I have done some races there before, so it's not going to be learning it from scratch. So not in the supercar, but at least I'll know the track when I jump on it. Should be ahead. I enjoyed it. I think I did it in 86, and I enjoyed the track. I thought it was pretty good. So looking forward to getting back there and getting back in the saddle and pushing the boys again up front for maybe another good race. That's all I really want. So obviously the next tick box is a race win, but we've got to do some work before we get there. We just got to find probably another 10th or two somewhere to be in Russell's league, or hope something goes wrong, or get a really good strategy call somewhere along the lines to get Russell. But I think we maintained pace with him pretty well through that race. He skipped away at the start. But otherwise, I think if I didn't make those couple of mistakes, I could have been fairly close and pushing at the end with the fresh rubber and actually had a crack. But, that one big mistake really cost me that battle. But yeah, it's good, and I can't wait for the next one. So that's my week of racing. And like I said, there'll be no real podcast next week. It'll be the week after. While I enjoy this break, even though I'm looking at the rig behind me, I may jump on for a few laps this afternoon. Now I'm having this week's been terrible for work. I'm taking today because everything sort of went smoothly. I sort of didn't plan for it, but I'm trying to enjoy myself today. So we may get on. I really miss streaming. I haven't streamed since that night. So we're a week since this last stream. I will be back on Monday streaming, but I might chuck one in today. We'll see. But it might not be. I do want to sneak in some different stuff. Like we're getting towards the end of the Fortnite season. I want to do some Fortnite soon. I do want to do some Water Warships again, but War Thunder's calling my name at the moment on the rig, and Flight Simulator next month as well is calling my name, because then I can use the rig and the joysticks I've got to actually make some content around that. But we'll see. There still will be the racing at least 3 nights a week, and hopefully one video going forward on the podcast and stuff. But yeah, I've enjoyed this break and I really needed it. So thank you all those who have understood. And we'll be back in about 8 or 9 days for another podcast, probably 10 days for another podcast. And we'll talk to you then. But bye for now.